Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Release the Raw. This week we are going to go over last week's submissions of the edits of Tyson Stevens. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the photos. So I'm going to show you through a blog and we'll talk about, who Tyson was and just give you a little more information about him. Then after that, we're going to go over how I would edit the image and then a few of your edits and then discuss next week, or rather release next week's Raw that we will be editing together. So thank you guys for joining in. This was fun. This is great. If you have any suggestions, anything you want to know, any way you want to help, just let me know. And I will do my best to kind of implement those things. Also, I do live next to barking dogs, so they're barking. I can't do anything about it, and they're going to be in my audio. So here we go. Lots of great submissions. Thank you guys so much for submitting all these photos. I put them in a little scroll as usual on the side. They've been scrolling. They might be scrolling a little bit longer, but just want to show you everything. I picked two that were my favorite that I will discuss at the end. But first, let's get into a little bit more about who Tyson was. And I say this in the past tense because unfortunately Tyson has passed away. But Tyson was a good friend of mine, and I met him pretty early on in my career when it was in 2008. I was in Texas on my first tour, and I did a photo shoot with his band Scary Kids Scaring Kids. We did it in the back lounge of their bus where they were smoking a hookah, and then outside of the bus, just on some grass. And it was a dream come true for me because Scary Kids Scaring Kids is one of the first bands I listened to in this kind of Warped Tour alternative rock, punk rock genre. I used to listen to him with my friend Dan on the way to teaching at a camp called Camp Shalom in Madison, Wisconsin. So in the morning we get up real early and we listen to him together, and it's kind of always had a really special place in my heart. So getting to meet them was a dream come true, and then fast forward another 2 years later, I ended up touring with them. So that's when I really got to know Tyson. And what happened was I met up with them in San Diego where I had just moved, and I did their rehearsals. So I photographed them rehearsing for Warped Tour, and then I went on Warped Tour with them. And then soon after that, I did a US tour with them in a van. So it was like one of their last tours. They weren't making very much money because, well, it's not that they weren't making that much money, it's that they were trying to save money. So we weren't in a bus, we weren't doing anything like that, just a tour in a van. And this is one of the last emails Tyson sent me. It's called Killing It. And he said, "Adam, I am so proud of how far you've come the last few years. I truly hope we can do a spread or cover when I'm ready to get back in the game. Hope you feel the same way. Keep it up. Look forward to hearing from you, Tyson Stevens." And I felt bad because I never hit him back, but for what it's worth, this was in 2014. He passed away soon after that, and he was kind of in and out with drug issues. So you'd get these things when he would be in a positive, and it's good to support people like that, but it was kind of inconsistent. So it was hard to hold people close. And I was a little younger back then, so it was just a rough time. So I got that. And I felt bad I never responded and never had a chance to speak to him again. Some of my favorite photos I ever took were of Tyson, and this one that we're editing today was definitely one of the top. So I figured that I could edit it again. I haven't edited it in forever. Usually I practice for these things. I didn't practice for this one. So I'm going to do my best to edit how I would edit it today, not how I'd edit it back then. So yeah. So some of the photos here that are my favorite, I have this photo of him sleeping in the van. I like this one a lot because in the van we'd stayed in, we'd all kind of have our own place we'd sleep because we'd have to travel in this van. And I would sleep on the floor underneath his bunk, and that's just how he rolled back then. And this is a photo of him sleeping. So I woke up before him, I took this, and I always like that nice because he was so at peace. And I thought that was nice for somebody who had such a rough life. And yeah. This is me and Tyson. I don't remember. I had a hair back then, so it was a long time ago, but this is us, I think, backstage at a venue. I don't remember who took it, but yeah, I think it was one of the only photos I have with the guy, and yeah, I miss him. Anyway, let's go get on to editing this photo. All right, so what we have here is the original unedited photo, and the things that stick out to me about this photo that I really like is I like the detail in his hair and his skin and the look in his eyes. And all those are things I want to maintain. That means I don't want to sharpen it too much. I don't want to get rid of anything. I want to see the hair up here. So this editing process is very intentionally not destructive. That's kind of how I'm going to approach it. So I usually start by decreasing the contrast, lowering the highlights so we can kind of see what we can rescue, or the saturation here. So we're going to bring it down. It looks like we've got some overexposed areas here on the right. You can kind of see it right here. Is this better? Just do it. Can't really trigger it, but it's all this by his ear. That's just too bright. We're not going to get that back. But all the rest, so we got to make sure we kind of keep that bright, but all the rest of this we can kind of get back. So we've got that. And then what I would do is I'd probably brighten, let's try this. We'll try to brighten with a circle here. So I think we can do that. Just a little bit, looks fine. Yeah, as long as it doesn't look unnatural, that's all we're going for. So it might look a little bit over here on the hair. Let's try doing that. Cool, and with images like this, I don't really retouch skin very much. It looks like he's got a little bit of a scab up here, so I would get rid of that. But I don't really get rid of much of their imperfections. This is from Glasses, which I actually kind of like, so I'm gonna keep that as well. Cool, cool, cool. So then, let's see, what do we do? Let's go ahead and bring down the blacks a little bit. Bring up the shadows to keep some stuff. Bring up the whites a little bit. And we can make it a little bit warmer or colder, just depending on what the vibe is for the image. I want to keep it pretty natural. So we're not going to go too crazy in colors. We're going to kind of keep it where it's at. Let's see how the dehaze works. That's too much. All right, we'll keep that where it's at. Okay, we've got that done. Let's shut that down. I'm going to go to 2. So if you bring this up a little bit, bring this down, and that's going to bring out some of the shadows a little bit. I'll bring that up. I'll bring this up just a tiny bit here, and you can see this is the before and this is the after. It just made there so there's a little bit more detail in the shadows. We'll shut that. Now let's go to the next one. Okay, hue. Let's see what we can play around with here. If we switch this to more of a yellow, is it that destructive? I kind of like it a little bit. Looks pretty good. And then these greens back here, I want them to be a little more orange. Getting them too green, I don't know if I like that. I want it to be kind of sunny. There we go. And these dark reds and purples here, let's see if we can make those a little more orangish yellow. So you can do here, something like that. So this was the before, the after. We didn't change too much. That's fair. Saturation. Let's go ahead and decrease the reds a little bit. Not that much, just a little bit. The oranges and the yellows. Just a tiny bit. And then we're going to go to luminance and we're going to bring those up just so the skin pops a little bit more. Cool, cool, cool. And then we'll do it in the purple because it looks like the lips have a little bit of purple. Yeah, they do. You can see that. Just to help those pop. Cool, cool. All right, let's shut that one down. We're done there for now. Let's go to split toning. Obviously, you can make some drastic changes here. So let's see what we can play around with. Cool, cool. Oh yeah, beautiful colors in here. I think I'm gonna lean more towards right around here. So I wanna keep it kind of warm. And the thing I like about this photo is you could tell there's a lot going on in his eyes, but at the same time, you know, he's content right here. And Tyson had a lot of different moods and they were determined, you know, he had his problems with drugs, but also when he was in his own, man, he was an awesome person. Sharpening here, I'm gonna be careful to not go too far on the sharpening. I'm gonna do it a little bit, but let's add a little bit of a masking here so it's not too much. Cool, that looks great to me. Go ahead and shut that. Lens corrections, usually should do this first, but we can just check. I don't think I need lens corrections, let's keep that off. Transform, I like to see what it does automatically sometimes, but now we don't have anything on here. We'll turn that off as well. Effects, don't really use this too much. Can maybe kill a little bit of the edge, but I don't really need to. Maybe just like 2. Let's see how that works. That's just a little bit, barely does anything. And lastly, we have calibration here. So, let's see what we can do here. Let's go a little bit more purple. I do like that kind of vibe. And the red, we're going to decrease a little bit now. There we go. Oh, yeah. We'll decrease it a little bit here. Beautiful. And then green, we don't want it that much. Cool, cool. Let's decrease it a little bit. Cool. And then blues we can bring down. Let's see. Got to blink a few times. Just a clearing blink here. Clear, clear, clear. Let's look. All right, we'll do a little before and after. Before, after. So we flattened it out a little bit too much, which I'm gonna fix. But that's basically the base of where we wanna be at. So now we'll go back to basic and we'll bring up the whites, bring up the contrast, and then we'll bring this in. Let's bring down some stuff here. So we're gonna bring down the exposure just a little bit. We can even bring it up. Let's see if we bring it up. Ooh, that's kind of pretty too. That's super pretty. Let's see, we'll take that off. Maybe we'll just keep it. Just keep it how it is. You know, it's always a lot of trial and error. Bring the contrast up a tiny bit. Let's bring the blacks back up because I do like this. I love the detail in the shadows. Okay, now do we want to crop this at all? I think I do want to bring it down a little bit. I really want this to hit his eye. So let's see if we can get it there without it being too weird. Let's see what we can do. Perfect. Might be too much. I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure. Maybe we leave it like this. Maybe it works better if it hits in between his eyes, honestly. That might work too. Let me just bring it down a little bit. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know, I'm indifferent on that one. I gotta figure that one out, but this is what I would go with. Then I think we'd make this a little warmer back here. So let's try, yeah, that works better. So we've got the sun coming over his shoulder and we need that. And we should always play into like what's naturally occurring in the image. So this is good. This is good. Cool, cool. And then we could try making it a little bit brighter over here too, because we've got blues. You can kind of see them on the edge of his hair. There we go. Let's get rid of those blues. That's beautiful. Because this was taken to paint this picture. We're in this valley behind this house, this huge valley in San Diego. It's beautiful, and I just moved to San Diego from Wisconsin, so seeing this was like crazy to me. But it was in a normal backyard for there, and it was just, he was sitting down facing the valley, and he turned towards me, and I was pretty far away in the valley with a 70-200 shooting this. And I think this is how I would edit this today. Probably add a little more contrast. There we go. And then from there, bring the vibrance down. This ear's bugging me a little bit. Where's that one? I think we could go with this one and bring the highlights down a tiny bit too. The exposure doesn't work because we have these overexposed area. There is sun coming in. Well, that's probably how I'd edit. So we have the before, we have the after. I think I like that. Maybe you brighten it up around here. Let's paint some brightening in. So we're gonna go in, we're gonna bring up the shadows, the exposure, and the white. We're just gonna do this. That's way too much. So let's bring down the flow. And let's do it again. Perfect, just to make it a little bit brighter down there. We can do it on this hair as well. Cool. And I used to edit in Photoshop. I don't really do it much anymore. I could edit this totally different in Photoshop, but I do like Lightroom. But that is how I would edit this image. And yeah, so thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this and you learned something from it. The hotkey real easily. I like to keep mine organized, so if you'll notice how everything's collapsed right here, and then you just do Command on a Mac. I'm not sure what it is on a PC, but you'll have some modification key, and then the numbers 1 through 9, or 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, get you to each section. Just press it again to go back. And that's kind of how I navigate Lightroom with hotkeys. It's a little bit easier to navigate that way than clicking through everything. So, yeah, I hope this helped you a little bit today. That's how I would edit this Tyson image. Now let's go ahead and look at some of yours. All right, so this first one we're gonna discuss is by Giorgio AV, and this is a black and white version. And the reason I like this one is because I feel like he didn't over sharpen it. And a lot of these images I noticed, in my opinion, were a little bit too sharp and had too extreme changes for how I like to edit, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. That just means that we have different taste, and that's okay. But when you're doing a portrait like this, where there's so many little things that are so important, make sure when you sharpen something, it's not irresponsible. So when you sharpen stuff, it changes things, it removes and adds stuff, and you really need to notice that, so that every step you're taking isn't just because, hey, this is a preset I have, or this is just what I do with an image. It's because, hey, this specific image calls for this adjustment. So I like this black and white photo because I feel like they didn't go too hard, and I like that they brought down the brightness because I feel like I can see his skin more, and I really love his skin. Tyson has some of my favorite skin of anybody I've ever photographed. I think it's beautiful, and I love how the light hits it, and they did a really good job of showing that in this black and white. So thank you for doing that. I love seeing how you edit, Giorgio. The other image I want to discuss, which is honestly my favorite, I think it's a better editing job than I did. I like this crop so much. I think this is beautiful. Oh my God, Vincent, this is great. I would hire Vincent to edit because I'll take this and I'll look back at mine. Pretty similar, right? I want it to be warm And actually looking back at mine, I'd probably mod it a little bit even, just after looking at his. I'd probably maybe bring down the saturation or vibrance a little bit to give it something more like this. I'm not sure, man. You ever have that? You like see another image and the way somebody else edited it and you just rethink your whole existence? That's how I feel about this. I was like, wow, I edited it this way, but this is just so beautiful, man. I'd love to see your process. Do you mind, if you would mind sharing it, send me a video or something. I'd love to learn from you. I think that you did such a good job and this crop is so nice. Sometimes I fail to find a vertical crop and everything. It's really difficult for me. And you found a beautiful way to edit this image. So thank you so much for sharing this. I'd love to learn from you. If you'd be as kind as to maybe even send me just the preset that I can apply to the photo in Lightroom, then I would love to see it. And if it's Photoshop, like if you could make a replay video or anything, I'm sure everybody would love to see what you did. So great job. I'm gonna be keeping this image. I don't know, maybe I could even buy a print from you. I don't know, I'm Miss Tyson, so that'd be cool. But thank you so much. Well, thank you guys for editing with me this week. Now we have to discuss next week's image, and I've decided that I'm gonna release them on the video the week before, but we'll go more in depth with them like we did this week, the next week, so you can kind of get a little more background after you edit it. This week we're gonna go over and we're gonna edit an image of Diplo in Pakistan. And this was one of my favorite 25 hours of my whole life. I learned so much. I saw so many things that I've never seen before and I'll never see it again. And this photo has such a cool backstory, which I'll tell you more about next week. But for now, I want to see your edits. And it's borderline. I like this one because it's a portrait, but it's a selection. It's an image that goes with other portraits to kind of give you an idea of where he's at. And it's almost more of a landscape photo. And that happens sometimes when you tour with people. It's not only taking portraits and lifestyle, but you have to be able to shoot landscape and basically all different types of photography. So I can't wait to see what you guys do with this one. Keep editing. I'm gonna keep releasing RAWs if you keep editing, and let me know if you have any suggestions. Until next week, have a good one. Keep shooting. We are all rooting for you, and I will see you next week. All right, peace. Bye-bye.